The exercise they have set us this time is to filter our data table of student grades, to select those that I need to advise that they have to resit the first exam. That is, that in this first exam, they got a score lower than 5. Then they tell us to do the same with the students that need to resit the second exercise and finally to do the same with those who have to resit the third. If we remember, our table consists of a number of rows, the data of each one of the students that includes, apart from personal data, the name of the specialty, etc. It also includes the score for each of the 3 exercises that we have done, Scorione, Scoretwo, Score 3, and afterwards with these 3 scores we calculate a final score and a grade, etc. What we are proposing this time is that this table has the totality of my students, my 21 students. I want to address or I want to make a selection of some kind of the records that fulfill a certain condition. In this case, the condition of having failed the first exercise, not having scored at least 5 in this first exercise. There are several students that this applies to, and I want to make a list of the table with only these students. What we are saying is that we have to apply a filter that, as in the normal life, we filter water to remove any impurities it may have or the things that I don't want to select at that particular time. Take the word, this understanding of the word. To filter the data in such a way that I remove the data which at this point in time I don't want to see, I don't want to work with. And I only want to have those that. What we are saying is that we have to go to the tools that Excel gives us in the Data tab of the Tools ribbon. The Data tab is the one that gives us a series of utilities that we can apply when we have a correctly generated Excel data table. There are just a few rules that it has to fulfill, that the data are consistent, that there be a first row of headers, which refers to what would be the names of the different fields, that each of the rows have homogeneous data that correspond to an entity, that is, what we will call records, and that the data be more or less of the same kind. In this case, I can apply these utilities, and since I want to filter, I have to enable this capacity using this filter we have here. Just by being in any cell of the table, not outside of it but inside, within the table, and clicking this button, Excel realizes that this cell is surrounded by a data set of these characteristics. And we see that in the first row it has put, to the right of each of the names, it has put a small triangle, which means that there is a drop-down menu. A drop-down menu that will allow us to indicate the filter conditions we are going to want at a given moment. What they ask us for in the first instance is that the first half, we are going to filter those students whose first score, here we see that they are all selected, is below 5. That is, I do not want to sort, nor do I want to order by color, nor do I want to select those with a given number. I want to filter by a given number, but not those that are equal to, or different from, or greater than, no. We want to filter those students whose first score is a number lower than. We see that it has an ellipsis. This means that this option, when we click on it, a dialog window is going to open where it will ask us for more data. These data will be the border that we have to define. What is the value that we will select? That score 1 is lower than 5. We enter 5, and so it will select all those records which in the field score 1, which is this one here, which we see the icon has now changed to indicating that it is now filtering by this value. We see that all these are indeed scores of less than 5, which is what they asked us for. So this table is now filtered. Notice that it doesn't have all the records, 21 students, but here I had been these 5, the number 168. The people are exercised at the first falling note minimal. So I will work with this table to call them in for a resit, or to tell them what conditions they have to meet to redo this score, or its implications. What they asked us for in the second point is that we do the same with those who have not passed or not got a high enough score in the second exercise. So we could be tempted to do the same, that is, take score 2, which is showing them all, and tell it to apply a number filter and show us those that are lower than 5. In this case, we might think that there are only 2 people who have to recite the second exercise, but this is not so. You have to be very careful when applying filters consecutively, one after another. Since we are filtering now, we have 2 active, the one we did before with score 1 and the one we have done afterwards with score 2. That is, only these 2 students have failed the first exercise and have also failed the second exercise. But that is not what they asked us for. What they asked for was those students who have to recite the second one. Of course, there will be students who have to recite the second, but maybe they passed the first. That is, we have to apply this second filter that we have defined here, but we have to stop applying the first filter. That is, we have to go to score 1 and tell us that here we are going to remove the number filter or show all, or select all, etc. We can tell it that in different ways. For example, by selecting all, here we see that this is essentially what they asked us for. They are all students who scored less than 5 in score 2, regardless of what they scored in the first score. That is, whether they failed or passed in the first exercise. With this table is that when to work for convening, or to convene the students to regain this second exercise. Finally, in the last one it would be exactly the same. If I apply the filters simultaneously logically, I will have a logic multiplication. Something like we are going to select the records that fulfill each and every one of these conditions that I am applying. If I only put one condition, I have to disable the filters, tell it once again to select all, and then in the score of the third exercise, once again filter those who have scored less than 5. And we see that we get another set of students, some of whom do or don't coincide with the previous lists. If what I wanted for any reason was to select those who had failed every single one of the exercises, I could apply these 3 filters simultaneously, the third, the second, and also the first. So we see that there was a student, yes, there was exactly one student who had not reached the minimum score in any of the 3 exercises. Anyway, we have to be very clear what they are asking us for. And so we have to be clear and at each point apply the correct filters, whether one or another, or the combination of 2 or more. When we have finished, we deactivate the filter button. It will show me the table just as it was at the beginning, and we see that it has deactivated the button corresponding to the filter. And this ultimately is what this exercise asked us for: to apply filters to the data and obtain those that met certain conditions.